Welcome to a new DrRcraft programming series on JavaScript. In this first video, we're going to take a look at how to insert JavaScript code into a web page. Before we learn how to write JavaScript code, we first need to know how to insert it into our page. JavaScript code can be inserted to a web page using three methods: external scripts, internal scripts, and inline event handlers. Firstly, let's learn how to refer to other JavaScript files from elsewhere. As you can see, I currently have this script.js file, which has some code in it that alerts the user, and I want to run it. In order to do that, we can go to the end of the body element and then add a script element. Now, in order to refer to an external file, we use the src, short for source. And then you can type in where the file is located. So it's in script.js. And if we run the code, you can see that it alerts us saying hi, which indicates that we've successfully run the code here. The advantage to inserting JavaScript using this external script method is that the JavaScript code, which actually makes the page interactive, is separate from the HTML code. So content is not mixed with function. However, the disadvantage is that since the HTML code and the JavaScript code are separated, that means you have to switch through these files a lot if you want to refer to elements in the HTML in the JavaScript code. Next, let's look at a method of inserting JavaScript which doesn't have that problem. Internal scripts are placed in the HTML code. So it's not in a separate file, the JavaScript code, it's actually in the HTML file. In order to add an internal script, we have to remove this source attribute so that it's just the script element with no attributes. And then we can add our code inside of the script tag. So, for example, we can do the code that we used before. And it'll work exactly the same. The advantage of using this method is that the HTML code is in the same place as the JavaScript code, so it's very easy to look at the HTML code while you're working on the JavaScript so that you can refer to elements more easily. However, this does mix content with function, which sometimes makes the code harder to maintain. Our final method is one that's slightly simpler than the others. Inline event handlers are probably the simplest way to insert JavaScript because they don't require script tags at all, because you can put it inside the attribute of the element that you want to give an event handler for. In order to show this, I'm going to create a button quickly that'll run the exact same code that we've written before, and then we can add an event handler attribute, which usually starts with on, which will show all of the suggestions here. In this case, I'm going to make it run when we click the button, so on click, and then in the attribute value, we can write the code that we want to be executed. In this case, I'm just going to alert the same message. And now if we run the code and click this button, it will alert hi to us. This method is really simple. It just requires adding an attribute to the element which you want to execute code, and then typing the code in this attribute value. However, the downside of that is that content is mixed a lot with function here. You can see the JavaScript code pretty much embedded inside the HTML, and if you use event handlers a lot in your HTML, then the JavaScript code is going to be very scattered, making it very hard to maintain. So in those cases, it's more practical to just centralize your code in a single internal or external script. This concludes the DrRcraft tutorial on inserting JavaScript. Thank you very much for watching.